Hey, it's Ryan with QLZ, and we are chatting today with Collin of Wake Me. And Collin, we've been talking about storms. You're the second band I've talked to in the last couple of days. We've been chatting about storms, and I'm able to do this interview from home today because I have power back. So it's a nice feeling, dude.
Congratulations. Yeah.
You're out there in beautiful Colorado. It's a state that I love visiting, man. How you doing today?
Doing great, man. Surviving some storms as well. We didn't lose any power, but we're just talking, had some tornadoes touch down in our area, which is very
Mhm.
rare for us. So that was it was a trip.
I bet. I'm glad you guys didn't lose power. We still have some people that are trying to get it back here. And as I told you, man, we have the artist spotlight. It's a feature that we do where it's new bands, up and coming bands, or like yourself when we do this feature and talking to you for a little bit. You guys in Wake Me have a lot more music out there than what you realize sometimes. So I don't know, for a band that's you've been around. You told me you're like, dude, I'm an old guy. You don't look old, so it's all good.
Well, yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. I'm keeping
um
the dream alive, right?
Yeah, so sometimes when bands, they do radio campaigns for the first few times, or some bands that don't get radio airplay, is something like, hey, like a band we want you to know more about, or like up and coming. Is that something that you guys even hear anymore, or is it something that bothers you guys, or you just kind of like, hey, man, we'll take it?
No, dude. I mean, that's the reality. I mean, it's we've been writing music and making music for a long time. But the reality is that most people probably haven't heard of us. So anytime we can, get into a new set of ears, we
Mhm.
love it. And yeah, we're happy to embrace, the new up and coming band moniker. Really, it's just you know, just we've been doing it for so long that doesn't really
Mhm.
matter to us. So
Just love making music.
yeah, man, it's I've always thought like I'm gonna be that old guy that just keeps playing in bands. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
60 years old, probably gonna be in a like a cover band playing in a bar or whatever. Just because whenever we've taken a long period of time off over COVID, for example, that was rough. You just you just start you keep writing songs. It just comes out. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like I'm always thinking about it. I'm always going to come up with guitar riffs in the shower. I don't think that part of that's like in my DNA. You know what I mean? So it's I I I don't that's something I'll always do, and whether or not I have an outlet for it. So
Yeah, that creative side never turns off. Now, it's funny you mentioned COVID, like you're always writing, and I was living in
mhm.
Wisconsin at the time, working for a different station up there, and did a lot of band interviews, even though they couldn't tour, they couldn't do a whole lot. And I feel like 95% of the bands that I interviewed, I just asked them, like, are you inspired to write right now? Like, what is this like for you?
Oh
You
yeah.
can't go out on the road. But that was just for you, it was the same. It was just like, man, the ideas are still flowing.
Oh
You
dude,
know,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, if anything, it was like we since we couldn't do anything else, when you're playing shows and you're touring and stuff, that takes a lot of time, like
mhm.
time, energy, mental bandwidth. So when you don't have any of that stuff going on, dude, we wrote and recorded so much music. Like it's we more than we probably ever have in that time frame, just that little condensed time frame there. So we were out there in studios, recording music, making music videos, just kind of building up content, really, just for when things would come back. So, if anything, I'd say even more inspired.
That's awesome. And that it was always interesting hearing that. And I know the new single you guys have out right now, it's pronounced female, correct? Even though it's spelled
That's right. Yeah,
a little bit differently.
yeah, we,
So
yeah, yeah.
go
We
ahead.
wanted to do. No, I was just gonna say, like with that, we kind of highlighted we capitalized FML on there.
Mhm.
It's kind of like a cheeky kind of way to be like, you know, use that whole deal "F my life" kind of thing,
Yeah.
which is
Yep.
which is kind of what the song is about in a way. Just heartbreak. You realizing you're in not a good situation, and you can see where it's headed. So that was it's just a play on the words there, on the
Yeah.
letters.
It's funny. I didn't notice that till this morning. Again, female. It's a song that we've got coming up on the artist spotlight on Monday, July 10th, 8:30 here for our QLZ listeners, 7:30 for you guys out in Mountain Time. And I always like to do a little bit of diving on the band. Usually the day of, I look into things again, and I was like, oh, I didn't notice this last time. It's FML that's capitalized. I'm like, I wonder
Yeah,
if this was
yeah,
done on purpose.
yeah. Well, it most certainly was.
That's awesome. So I know you mentioned, man, you guys wrote a lot during COVID. You're really
Yeah.
inspired. it's interesting. Like I still buy albums. I still love buying CDs. I still have a CD player in my car. I don't have a vinyl. I don't have a record player, but I still like to collect some vinyl and get it out there. Female, it's a song that's out right now. What do you guys want to do when it comes to new music? Do you guys are you going to play the singles game? Are you going to do an album, or what works for you guys?
Man, that's a great question. I mean, I'm not sure I would say that like necessarily anything like works, 100%. So we're
Mhm.
always trying to like adjust what our game plan is. But lately, um, we we started out doing what you described as like an LP, like a full
Yeah.
length disc, right? That was like that was the mindset, 10, 12 years ago. And then we actually recorded with a guy, Tom Denny, who played. I mean, I always have a hard time remembering this band. He's a super good producer, but he came out to Denver and produced an EP with us. And he goes, "Man,
Okay.
don't if you're not like an established band, don't do a full length record. You're wasting your time. Like you're going to put all this energy into songs that nobody's ever going to hear." And we're like, "Dude, that's from like a business standpoint.
Yeah.
You're kind of like giving away something for nothing." And that kind of stuck with us. And so we did an EP with him. It was like 5 songs. That was the Safety Abandoned, which is kind of our first EP as Wake Me.
Mhm.
And after that, we kind of realized that even that kind of had the same thing going for it, right? Like you're gonna have songs in there that people just aren't ever gonna hear. So we dialed it back to just singles. And in a lot of ways, it's more enjoyable to do it like that because you're not really concerned about like an overarching sound. You're just like, let's
Yeah.
just make a good song. I like, who cares if it doesn't sound like the last song, or doesn't really fit in like a group of tunes. You're just trying to come up with what are the best ideas. Let's make those and just make them as good as they can be. So we've been working with producers for the last few years. Eric Ron, we worked with, who has done like Godsmack and Fire from the Gods and all kinds of huge rock bands. He was great to work with. And then this last batch of songs, we worked with Joey Bradford, who's the guitar player from The Used
Mhm.
out there. He's based out in San Diego, so we flew out there. And so this song is from that session of songs.
Okay. It's interesting because I know, again, man, there's some bands out there that still want to do the full length albums. And if a band I like is putting a CD out there, I'm buying it. And then
Totally.
talking, with other bands too, it's like we like doing the singles game because if we want to put a music video out for this, we can do this. Like we can put so much attention into one
Mm-hmm.
song. So is there something that, even though the industry has changed, is there still something that's pretty rewarding about being able to take a song, put a video with it, and just give it a bunch of attention?
No, that's the move. I mean,
Mhm.
like you only have so many bullets, right, in the magazine, that
Yeah.
so many songs that so it's like make every single one count. And that way it's like let's make it every release as big as possible. Do a music video if you can. If you can't, have some sort of visual asset to go with it, just to try to like, really drive attention to your one thing every time you release something.
Yeah, now you guys have a video for this, and I keep seeing JT Ibanez, and I believe I'm pronouncing
Yeah,
JT's last name correctly. I mean, he's put music videos out. It's like every time the bands I like, it's like Saul. He's putting videos with
yeah.
them. I believe
So totally.
Sleep
Mhm.
Signals, Seven Dust. What is
Mhm.
it about JT? Because I feel like maybe I'm just noticing it now because there's some other bands that have told me about him. But what is it about JT that's like, he's so good to work with? Because obviously the bands that he's working with, you know, they're damn good bands.
Well, yeah, no, we're definitely honored to be in that group of bands for
Mhm.
sure. But that guy is just uh, the way that he handles the camera, and the shots that he gets are
Mhm.
just so. I just think he's like super in tune with the parts that are supposed to be heavy, the parts that are supposed to be more mellow, and he always seems to do the right thing. So, uh, and he's got a quick turnaround. His ideas are, amazing for like set pieces and things like that.
Mhm.
So he's just a really good dude to work with. Very low stress. Um, we've done a few out there with him in St. Louis, is where he's based, and yeah, just really like working with the guy. And when you're in this industry, sometimes you find that you could be waiting on people for months to get
Mhm.
mixes back, to get edits back, like all this stuff. That guy will turn around videos so quick, and it's refreshing, you know. So yeah, he's great to work with, man. He's
That's
working with
awesome.
a ton of good bands too.
Yeah, I keep and like I said, I keep seeing his name, and it's funny because now that I'm noticing the videos, it's like, oh my, I've already interviewed these bands like weeks ago, and it's like I keep seeing his name
Yeah,
come
yeah,
up. So when I checked the video out for Female this morning, I was like, holy crap, there's his name again. I'm like, I'll have to ask
yeah,
Colin about him because he's
totally
all over the place, man. Now you guys
prolific.
took yeah, you guys took on. I'm gonna have to watch the video again, and then you're talking about these heavy parts. I'm gonna have to try to watch this video in a different way. It's also why I like asking this too because I'm like I might go back and watch the video and just get different things out of it now.
Oh, totally. Yeah, yeah. He's very good with his shot selection and the way he edits. So yeah, definitely give it another look and see if you can kind of pick up on some
Yeah.
just vibe changes. You know?
Yeah, for sure. Now, you guys, thing that's in your biography as well, and I listened to it this morning. You guys covered Seal like 10 years
Yeah.
ago, Kiss from a
Hmm.
Rose, which I love it, man. When bands take a song that is not metal, it's not rock, and they put their own spin on it and they roll with it. Now, if anybody's listening, go check the song out. We'll link it here as well. We get the post up today for your interview so people can check it out. But are there other songs out there in a different genre that you guys have either discussed or maybe like your wish list were like, man, let's do a metal cover of like, this song?
Yeah. So that song, "Kiss from a Rose," that's like an all time favorite, right?
Mhm.
Ever since Batman Forever came out. Uh, if you remember that movie,
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
but that song was like begging to be a rock song. You know what I mean? Like there's just something about it that it's got so much energy that it was actually a lot easier to convert it into just a hard rock song or metal cover than you might think. But we also did um, "Everybody Wants to Rule the World," Tears for Fears. So we
Okay.
covered that tune. We've got a video for it as well. That one, I'm super happy with how that turned out. And yeah, there are a few that were kind of rolling around in the back of our minds. We toyed with the idea of doing like, bleeding edge pop releases, kind of like Our Last
Okay.
Night does, but we just kind of haven't really ever pulled the trigger on it. Um, and then we always go back to like older tunes, like there's a "Uninvited" by Alanis Morissette. There, I love that song, and
Yeah.
I can totally visualize that as like a metal cover. So
Mhm.
that's one of mine. And then Justin, our guitar player, he really wants to do uh, what is it? It's oh man, it is Fleetwood Mac. Like there's a Fleetwood Mac tune that he's in love with that
Okay.
we might want to cover. So I don't know. Yeah, we've got a few ideas, and we actually might work on something next,
Okay.
like from like the cover world. So we'll see.
Awesome. Very cool. Again, man, I saw that and I was like, I gotta check this out because I haven't listened to that song in a long time. And I'm like, I don't really listen to Seal much in my in my free time, but it's like, dude,
Totally,
if it's a
give it a
rock and
rip.
metal version, yeah, man, that's the thing of
Yeah,
like if it's a rock and metal version, I was like, I'm glad I checked this out because I'm like, I like the song more now. Nothing against Seal, but
totally.
I'm more of a
Oh,
headbanging kind of guy.
that's
Again,
fair.
Colin,
Yeah.
Colin, Wake Me song Female Artist Spotlight on Monday, 8:30, 7:30 for you. And my final question for you, it's a question I'm asking every single band. It's a blog post I used to do in Wisconsin. And I know we've chatted about albums a little bit, but your favorite complete albums, your favorite no skip albums of all time, if you can think of a few from off the top of
Mm,
your head.
dude. Um, yeah. So the Panic Broadcast by Soilwork
Okay.
is definitely on that list. Then there's Thrice, Artists in the Ambulance. They actually
Mhm.
just came through and did that like 20th anniversary
Oh,
tour. They played
nice.
every song on the record. It was unbelievable. Yeah, I don't get to go to many shows where I can sing every single word,
Yeah.
and so that was one of them. It was a pretty cool show. Um, man, and then there's this weird band out of my bandmates are gonna laugh because I guarantee you they know I'm gonna bring up this band. They're called Kveler Talk. They're from
Okay.
they're Norwegian, and it's like black metal vocals over like rock and roll music. So they call
Okay.
it black and roll. It is amazing. And I don't know, I have no idea what the guy is saying the entire record because
Yeah.
he's singing, he's not singing in English. But man, that thing slaps. It's just like from front to back. That
Okay.
first record they came out with, it was a self-titled one, and there's so many good tunes. Just like the catchiest, tastiest guitar licks. Yeah, that's probably on the
Okay.
list too.
Awesome. Well, again, man, Collin, Wake Me, frontman. We are getting a female on the Art Spotlight Monday morning here on QLZ, 8:30 in the morning, 7:30 for you guys, dude. I'm glad we were able to make this work out. I'm glad I have power
Yeah,
back, man. Glad I got to chat with you.
yeah.
So appreciate it.
I'm glad you got power back too, man. Refill that refrigerator.